when you look at association or industry data from companies like CEIR and different publications that are basically surveying attendees and surveying events, right? And then on top of just my communication, me being on this podcast, talking to people, I feel like this new value is simple, right? One of which is peer-to-peer, networking, interaction, knowledge share. People want to be around other people solving the same problems they are, or dealing with the same problems that they're dealing with. They don't want to hear it from somebody else. They want to hear it from someone that's in the trench, has been there, has done it, is doing it, has maybe lived through it. So it's not being talked at, it's talking with now is a big difference. The second thing I have here is experience. People want an experience. If you're making me leave my house and leave my ecosystem and leave my work from home and my schedule and the busy thing, don't deliver me something that I can do at home, right? Deliver me something that I cannot do at home. Give me an experience. I think people are genuinely seeking experiences when they go to an event. Community and belonging kind of go together for me. I think they're one and the same. It's not always a community, but I do think people feel like they belong when they go to events, right? To the same crowd, same style people. You're talking peer-to-peer. When I'm in a group of CEOs that are running small businesses under the size of $100 million or whatever it is, I feel like I belong. There's a feeling to it. I don't know how to describe it. So I think people are craving community and belonging. I think people want to do workshops. This goes back to peer-to-peer. They want to workshop. They want to physically, not physically work like they're working on a dirt bike or something, but I'm saying they want to do stuff together. They want to engage and think and talk and work through things. The last two I have on my list is meaningful interaction, right? The days of just throwing a networking event and have it be a happy hour with some food, like that's not really meaningful interaction. If you're just herding people into a room and saying this is a networking event, well, I don't really know how meaningful it is, because I've seen people roll into those and go and grab a drink and stand off to the side and talk to one or two people. It's not creating what I would consider meaningful interaction. The next piece I have here is, professional development, certifications, right? People want these certifications. They want to develop and progress their career. So I think when you put these together, this is what the new value is. This is what attendees are seeking. This is why people are leaving the home. This is why people are going to an event.
I think that's a really good list, man. Echoes what Francisco's saying in the chat. What I keep hearing from conference attendees on why do you still come to this thing is, for me, it's a chance to meet with people I like, people I only see in person once a year, AKA community and sense of belonging. Yet conference organizers don't seem to fully get this, and the formats have really changed. This hurts companies like mine who want and are betting on events as a driver for pipeline and new business opportunities. So,
okay, so I think that's a really interesting point that we can touch on here, right?
Yep.
So if you're talking, let's use a third-party conference as an example, right? So now let's go to the exhibitor, the sponsor side, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So literally at a high level, most people are exhibiting, sponsoring, spending money, going to these events on that side of things for two things. They're going there for pipeline, so sales, right? Leads, sales, pipeline, you call it what you want, right? And they're going there for brand awareness. Okay, got it. So now to what Francisco's describing is essentially saying that now you have the association that's running this event. And if they're running an old playbook, which is the old way of doing things, and essentially basically means that they're not orchestrating the things that I just listed, peer-to-peer experience, community, workshops, meaningful interaction, you as the association have to orchestrate those things. You have to do your best to orchestrate, right? So my advice though, to exhibitors, to sponsors, is pretty simple. It's you have to deliver this to your attendees, to your customers, to your prospects. This is the playbook, right? So people are going there, like I wrote a post about this the other day on LinkedIn. I said, no one's there to buy your shit. People are not rolling into the convention center hall like, I can't wait to buy this software system. That's not how it works. They're not there to buy from you. So what do you have to do? It's a bit of a longer cycle, right? How can you help orchestrate, some peer-to-peer networking, some interaction, some knowledge share? Can you do it in your booth? We did it in a podcast, right? We brought in people to have conversations. We held panel discussions. That's what they want. You have to give the people what they want, right? Experience, deliver an experience. Don't just shut up a demo stand and pitch your product. Have a theme, deliver an experience, take them through something, tell a story, make it interesting, make it intriguing, stand out, right? Community and belonging. What community and what sense of belonging does your customer want? If you don't know that, if you don't know who they are, how can you really deliver this, right?
Mhm.
Workshops, how can you orchestrate things like that? When you use that as a playbook, now you're getting meaningful interaction with your customer, with your prospect. Whereas the old playbook is that you think the meaningful interaction is just coming because everybody's there and that they're forced into the trade show hall or that they have to roll into a keynote. You have to create the meaningful interaction, and meaningful interaction for your customer is not what you want, it's what they want. That's what I think.
Man, what I'm hearing in what you're saying, Matt, that I hadn't really totally thought through until right now. Right now, when Francisco put that in there, right now with your response,
Yeah.
is the idea that as entrepreneurs, we understand that when there's a gap, there's an opportunity to be filled.
Yep.
And it feels like we're almost at the sweet spot right now where events have come back and people all want to go to them and they're
Yep.
still doing it the old way. And while eventually event organizers are going to switch around and start, really giving people what they want as the organizer,
There's some already doing it.
some are already
There are
doing it.
some.
But for right now, in your industry, there's a high probability that it's an event doing it the old way. It's people showing up to what Francisco said, saying, damn, man, why did I leave home for this? And you, as an exhibitor, you, as the person that's there activating in the event, have this unique opportunity to show up with the, oh, I got you. Here's what you wanted. I can give it to you. And it creates this like moment in time where I think the greatest opportunities happen during context shifts because
Yeah.
there is this arbitrage of who's doing it the way that it's demanded versus the way that it used to be demanded.
Yeah.
So I find that to be really exciting, man. And when you talk about it, it makes me think of the kind of like our journey through Exhibitor Live and how we showed up like serving the old way with some new advice,
Yeah.
with some like new techniques, aka showing up exhibiting. Was it like a 20 by 20? What size was the booth?
10 by 30.
10 by 30 with great theme, people stopping and asking, the podcast as an engagement technique and a follow-up and whatever. They worked really well. But the next year we showed up and we went all in on this stuff and instead showed up as, hey, we're doing an event the night prior so people can get together and run our podcast there. Then we're teaching a class the following time. Then we're doing a karaoke night, right? Like I feel like that's almost the exciting part of this conversation is that in this in between, there is that massive opportunity.
Yeah. So one note I made here as we were kind of talking about this is one of the stats I've seen that I think is pretty glaring that people need to pay attention to. And this is for third-party conferences, but also for host events, because host events have exhibitors and sponsors just on a smaller scale, right? Mm-hmm. But from all the data that I have seen, there is a 1/3 exhibitor turnover year over year. That's a lot.
A lot.
And I think it has a lot to do with people not, as exhibitors, spending money, not seeing the value that they're receiving from the show. But then the question I would ask in return is, well, is the attendee getting the value? Are you there for two totally different reasons? Mm-hmm. How is that ecosystem being married up? Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a chicken and the egg. And I think it's a little bit of the reason why a lot of companies are going to throwing their own host events versus relying on association and third-party events. True. But I would urge people, if you're exhibiting at large third-party conferences, you have to change up your approach. You have to give people what they want. If you think they're just going to wander to your booth and be curious about you and what you do, and that they're just exploring new tools and resources and products and services, they're not. They're not. They're not there to get pitched. They're not there for that. But what they are there for, they are a little curious. They're looking for experience. They're looking for interaction. So how can you orchestrate that yourself? And I think you can do that in the booth, and I think you can do that out of the booth.
100%. 100%.